broadcasting Raw when he's the best announcer in the business, and then made fun of his serious surgery after he'd been a valuable employee for 10 years. If you're loyal and faithful, they will do everything they can to kick you in the teeth. But if you screw them or try to put them out of business or sue them, i.e. Sable, i.e. Warrior, i.e. everybody, then they will bring you back and give you more money, because Vince somehow is getting a jolly, I guess, off of finally being able to hire these people and have them work for him after they were against him for so long. I don't know. I don't see what Eric Bischoff's place in wrestling has ever been, except to open up a billionaire's checkbook, hot shot a territory for 3 years, make a lot of money, and then run it farther into the ground than it ever was. He's not a good performer, in my opinion. He's an obnoxious human being on television, because that's his natural flavor in real life. But how he got in the wrestling business was he was a third-string announcer for Vern Gagne that went and got the coffee, and he baffled the people in WCW by padding his resume into thinking that he served the second course of the Last Supper, and that's basically the way he got to be a name in wrestling. Bischoff, to me, is a non-entity. I've never seen anything that he did that I cared about, and I don't think I'm going to start now.
And what do you think about Russo?
Please don't even get me started. Foreman will kill me. We'll probably have to rent extra phone time. Russo's a complete moron who was in the right place at the right time and who was embarrassed to be involved in wrestling unless he could reinvent it to his own perverted worldview. And he helped, in large part, to bankrupt a company funded by a billionaire. And in the process, he ran off a lot of good young talent. I just talked to one of them today. I won't mention anybody's name. Don't want to embarrass the guy. But the guy actually quit wrestling after he'd been a WWE Tag Team Champion and a good performer. He quit wrestling because of what Vince Russo stuck him doing on television. Russo ran off tons of young talent. He ran off tons of viewers. And he still, to this day, hasn't figured out, after everybody, universally, old and new, from Jerry Jarrett on down, has not figured out that he's an idiot and the rest of the world is not crazy. He still thinks he saved wrestling. He's a moron. Russo said his CD business in Atlanta going out of business was God's way of telling him to get back in wrestling, and my response to that was, if there was a God, Vince Russo wouldn't be in wrestling.
Probably true.
Wow. Oh, God, the devil's son. You know what? He's got a great mind. He's a great manager. He's a great performer. I think he did good in booking as far as getting the most out of the least. But the problem that I've always had with Paul Heyman is that he lies to people. And he cost some friends of mine a lot of money. He double-crossed some friends of mine and then lied about it afterwards. And I don't like to do business with somebody that I can't trust. And that prevents me from doing business with most people, unfortunately, the way the world is today. But, you know, I've said about Paul Lee, he'd rather climb a tree and tell a lie than stand on the ground and tell the truth. And that's the case. He's got tons of talent, but he's crooked as a country road.
Okay, no more tweet dipping here. This will be the second one. This is it. I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Blackjack.
All right, brother.
Jim, I think we're going to wrap it up there. I appreciate it.
Oh, already?
Well, I figured I had to let Blackjack go twice. He's, you know, my hometown Chicago guy. I had to let him get an extra one in there.
Yeah, then once we started going around twice, probably everybody else is snoring if we could hear them. We ought to get a big speaker situation where we could hear everybody at one time, just have a big town hall meeting. What do you think?
I like it.
I used to do that with the Gab line.
There you go.
I have one more question for you, Mr. Cornette, from the Kingsport Town News by Kevin Castle. Would you like to go ahead and take it?
From Kingsport, Tennessee, absolutely.
All right, just one moment. Let me get him online. Mr. Kevin Castle, you have the line, sir.
Thank you, sir. Welcome back to Smoky Mountain Wrestling.
Kevin, how are you? How's the folks in Kingsport?
We are doing wonderful, sir, and we miss you down here. We hope you'd come back soon.
Well, I'll tell you, I've had a great time in East Tennessee. I used to live in Morristown while Smoky Mountain Wrestling was operating. And of course, we were in Johnson City every month at Freedom Hall, and I've been to Kingsport many times, and it's a great area of the country.
On a personal note, I hope you can give me some pointers, because this Sunday night I'm going to be refereeing a match for Iron Ring Wrestling, and your tag team.
My good friend Jeff Tankersley.
Your tag team is going to be across from me.
Uh-oh.
We got the Midnight Express and the Goldens.
Now, wait a minute. Now, how have you found yourself in the unenviable position of facing across the ring from Bobby Eaton and Dennis Condrey?
Bobby, I've come to know Bobby over the past year, and he's I consider him a friend of mine, and I just told him and I told Jeff that it would just be an honor to get in front and ref one of their matches just once. And Bobby said, "Well, let's do it." So, but let me ask you this. I know that WWE has control of that Smoky Mountain Wrestling video library. And they've
made great use of it, haven't they?
you just took
It's easier to find Amelia Earhart.
We never say never in this business, but if Vince or whoever's head of the video department calls you up and goes, "Look, we're putting together a best of, and we want you to do some commentary on it," would you be open to that?
The chances of that happening are so astronomical as to be almost minute. Of course, I'll say yes because it'll never happen, and I'll look like the good guy. No, they're not gonna. They're only concerned with picking out a few matches here and there of people that they want to feature. They don't. They own the NWA and WCW libraries and the World Class Library and all those libraries, and the people that work in the television studio up there, and I have nothing bad to say about any of them except Kevin Dunn, who's a moron. But they're very dedicated and they're very talented, but they have been indoctrinated to believe that the WWF and WWF wrestling in the old days was the best, and the other stuff was just where guys got their start. So as a result, when you look at WWE 24/7 on cable, they own all the Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat matches. They own Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. They own all these great wrestling matches from World Class with the Von Erichs. They own all that stuff, and you see Tito Santana Month and those battling midgets. So, that's where they're at, and it's not going to happen. So let's not hold out any hope and falsely confuse ourselves.
Well, I would hope if that can happen, I would hope that you could help me get a hold of some Smoky Mountain videotape or DVD, because I'm desperately searching for it. And believe me, I've been on eBay and I can't find it anywhere.
I'll tell you what, you get a hold of Ross Foreman on the down low, and maybe we can work something out.
Gotcha. My final question for you, Jim.
Oh, by the way, I heard WWE 24/7 has as many subscribers in the United States of America as watches Ohio Valley Wrestling Television here in Louisville every Saturday night. So they're doing wonderful. Kudos to them.
Tom Pritchard says to tell you hello, by the way.
Dr. Tom, I love my man, Dr. Tom.
We did an interview with Brian Danielson a couple of months back, and Brian wants to further his studies in the academic world, but I've told the guy who interviewed him, what will it take to bring him to TNA? Is there any strings you could pull? Because this guy is just a stand-up guy, and he's very talented in the ring, and they need him in TNA.
Well, he's a great guy. Of course, obviously, he's the Ring of Honor champion right now, and I do a lot of work with Ring of Honor, so I'm familiar with him. And this is for everybody who may still be listening, still hanging on to the bitter end. TNA is going to showcase a lot of talent in the coming months, but remember, it's 1 hour of television a week and 3 hours of pay-per-view once a month, and the last thing that they want to do, or that would be appropriate to do, is bring in 60 or 80 wrestlers so half of them become the invisible men that the Bashams have become in the WWE, where you've got talent that's sitting around doing nothing. Doesn't make business sense for the payroll, doesn't make performing sense for the program, and doesn't make sense for the wrestlers who might be making money but don't get a chance to show what they can do. So I think what it's going to be is I am more than ready to suggest some people, and as contracts come up for renewal, obviously decisions will be made. New people will be hired. Some people will be asked to go to Japan or something else for a while and come back. But you can't. That's to me, that's what the WWE does, is stockpile wrestlers just so other people can't have them. It's the same thing that WCW was doing when they had an unlimited checkbook in the 90s, and so many great wrestlers were being hidden just so they couldn't have the opportunity to be a boon to someone else's business. And that's not good for anybody. So I think unless the wrestler doesn't want to work and just wants to get a check for sitting at home, which is something to be said for that. But the answer to the question is, give TNA time, and I think they're going to be showcasing a lot of different talent and a lot of new talent that folks haven't seen nationally. but they don't want to do it all in one clump, or then nobody gets over, and people, instead of being a benefit, it's a detriment.
One last thing, Jim, back on Smoky Mountain Wrestling. Could you tell us a little bit about the connection that Rick Rubin had to that promotion? Of course, he was better known as a record producer for Run DMC and the Beastie Boys. How did he get involved?
Well, now don't just limit him there. He's done all the Johnny Cash albums, including the posthumous one that was just released. He's done Mick Jagger. He's done the Chili Peppers, had tremendous success. Rick Rubin was a big wrestling fan who I was introduced to in 1990 by a friend of mine who was a DJ and later went to work for his record company, Deaf American. And Rubin's favorite wrestling personalities were me and Ric Flair. And he wanted to see more old-style wrestling as well. He thought it had become too commercialized, homogenized, pasteurized. And so that when I left WCW, we discussed it, and he was a major financial backer and a major inspiration in Smoky Mountain Wrestling.